puno yamang, hangin yamang, tao yamang, diwa yamang alay. Yamang kaluluwa. Salidumay, diway. Ay, salidumay, salidumay, diway. Ay, salidumay, salidumay, diway. Ay, salidumay, salidumay, diway.
So the question I asked was Bakit naman. So the third song is supposed to answer the question Bakit, parang why, you know? And you can answer that in many different ways. Why you do what you do, what keeps you motivated, passionate. But you chose Salidumay.
Yes.
And tell us about that song. Why did you choose it?
Salidumay draws from the oral tradition. So when I was in Berkeley and I was studying all these other music, Western music, Afro-Cuban, Brazilian, West African, so I was exposed to so many different traditions and cultures from around the world. And I realized, wait a minute, parang, what's Filipino music? Like, I didn't feel like I even knew much about my own. And so that kind of started, like, the question, what is Filipino? What is Filipino music? And that led me into the works of, people like Bob Aves and Grace Nono, people who dedicated their lives to studying, the indigenous culture and music and arts. And that's where I got to listen to their music. And specifically, I was drawn to Grace's work because the thing with oral traditions is that it's passed on orally. It's through storytelling, through community. So there isn't a way for somebody who's not part of the community to learn about it unless it's like through like the books or the recordings. And so Grace was somebody who dedicated her life to documenting these stories, these people's cultures. And I read her book, like Sacred Voice, and that was really like an intro, to what's out there. So that connected me to a specific person, and she has a version of Salidumay that's in Tagalog, so I understood what the words meant, and it resonated with me. But that has kind of put me on this path of like also being, okay, I'm a jazz musician, I'm Filipino. What does it mean to be myself? What does it mean to know my history, to be connected to my roots? And also to embrace like my own personal history. Like, just, it doesn't mean that I have to copy what's already been done. Like, I am living and breathing my own history. By pursuing what I pursue, I am kind of pushing forward like what it is to mean Filipino. We're evolving, we're becoming globalized, we're all over, And so there's that balance of understanding your roots and then also understanding who you are and then your part in how all of us can move forward. And that's been a driving force, especially when things get tough. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the purpose? What's the value? And it always brings it back to like my family, my country, like feeling connected to the whole gives me like lights my fire. Like, I'm not just doing this for myself. I might not know the ripple effects. I might not know how it affects or who it affects, but I trust that by doing it, it has an impact. So when that's been something I have to remind myself, and honestly, this like trip back home is like a decision to make the time and energy for this. So it's kind of like wild how things fall into place when you just trust.
And yeah.
Yeah, that's been my life. It's like magic.
It does seem like you're very attuned to the whole, whether it's culture, whether it's environment, and it's the first time I've ever heard that song that way. And I saw the intention with creating nature forest sounds, and getting like, if you close your eyes, you can kind of imagine you're out in the mountains or out in nature. And I have a feeling that's something you do to you like being out in nature.
One of my friends called me La Cuachera. I know, I love being out.
Yeah, tell us about that La Cuachera side. Like you mentioned earlier, the things you do outside music inform your identity as an artist. And I'd love to hear about, how being here in the Philippines in nature, nourishes your art.
Yeah, I think nature has been the thing that makes me feel at home wherever I am. So if I go to the ocean, no matter what shore I'm in, I feel that sense of like, oh, it's the same ocean that connects the whole world, or like the trees. This is the same. The trees here, like, contribute to the oxygen that we need to breathe all over the world. Like this idea that we're part of a network. Because I think humans, for some reason, we like to divide, we like to categorize, we like to create borders. Okay, this is this country. And I feel like the deeper you go into your roots, the more you see the interconnections to the whole tribe, and then just feeling like nature isn't like a part of us. We are part of nature, So what does that mean? Like, how can we learn from that awareness? So nature has been a refuge for me and a teacher. And when I think about like what is real, like I like to feel grounded, I like to feel my feet on the ground, metaphorically and literally. I like to, feel the ocean surrounding my body and just feeling like when I look at the sky or the stars, like, oh, I'm connected to that. And I think when we live in the city, and especially in this day and age where we're like tied to our screen, sometimes we can forget that somehow. Like you need to get out and just experience it. And I'm lucky that I live in a city like Boston is a great city because it's like full of trees and parks. And so like I got to really experience that. I grew up in Metro Manila, which is like,
Less
densely
trees and
populated
parks.
city. So I think having that space made me appreciate it even more because I know what it's like to not have trees around me, to not be able to walk and breathe fresh air, So I think that my time in Boston actually has been really healing because I've had that time to just sit by a water, by a river, by a lake, or by a tree and just connect to that energy. And so that's been that stayed with me. I just always want to be out.
You and I are the same way. I like, especially after working in Manila, like we're busy with shoots, and it's just like a washing machine of constant to-do lists, no. But it's always nice to kind of like have that refreshing nature bath, parang ganun.
Yeah.
Going back to the Bakit, no, and why you chose Salidumay, parang I think with artists, what kind of elevates their art is an objective, and I feel like with you, what I really saw was bringing, trying to find that identity of Filipino music and kind of finding like, where else you could take it. Yeah, can you talk to us about, your background from Berkeley and learning about decolonization and trying to see, where you can come in, not only as a creative, but like an educator in the arts.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a really interesting educational background. Because I moved a lot and like family situation, I've been to 13 different schools.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've experienced a really wide, eclectic range of educational systems and philosophies around teaching. And then specifically to my music education, like I was told I would never get to music school because I couldn't read notes, stuff like that. It's like, why are we putting ourselves in a box? And just like the fact that I had to look beyond what was taught to me in schools to really get a whole picture of who I am as Filipino. It's like, why is that? Why are certain things not being taught, and it made me look kind of into like again like our history of like how were our schools started, what was it like before then, and it has a lot to do with again like the conditioning. Like we are now an independent country, right? We have, but the trauma, the remnants of the systems that oppressed us are still present. So I think I kind of had to look at my experience, try to understand, but to really understand, I had to zoom out. And then also seeing how it's happened in other places too. And this idea of like, why was our natural way of being taken away from us? And is there a way that we can reconnect to that, like that which feels natural? Why are we still trying to like fit in a box? Why are we like uncomfortable with our brown skin? Why do we have like whitening products everywhere? Like, this idea like, oh, like what's abroad is like more valuable than what we have here. Like, let me tell you, no, we got wealth, we got abundance here. And so it was just, I think being able to live in different, like outside of the country and come back, like it gives you that perspective, and so with my background of education and my own learning journey, education became really important to me. And so, I consider myself an artist-educator, and they are very intricately entwined. How I am as an artist, I want that to be the person I bring when I am teaching a young person. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm teaching, I'm going to separate myself. Like, I try to consciously be myself in whatever space I'm in. And, I'm lucky that I've, found like organizations and people where I could work as a teacher and do that. But I had to like really be intentional about it.
I think it's important questions that you're asking, important work that you're doing through your music too as well. I think we could actually leave it at that.
Cool.
That was really cool, Jireh. Thank you.
Good questions.
Well, Jireh, thank you so much for spending your time with us. This is really awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, this was lovely. Really appreciate it.
It isn't North
No,
Orthodox?
no. I thought it was beautiful.